Hello everyone, welcome to you all to this channel Gyandut 2.0 initiated by College Education Jaipur, Rajasthan. I am Reena Kumari, Assistant Professor, Department of English. And the topic of our today's e-lecture is the story The Doll's House. And really, this is a very interesting story. And in this story, the writer depicts the child psychology, and this story is in our syllabus of BA part first in paper second. As we are studying this story segment, and as previously we have studied almost three stories. First is the three dancing goats, second is the fortune teller, third is grief, and this is the fourth story of our syllabus, the doll's house. So let's begin our today's story, the doll's house. But before we start the story, here we need to understand the many facts about the story, about the background of the story, and about the writer also. The writer of this story is Kathleen Mansfield, and the name of our today's story is The Doll's House. And just have a look on introduction to the author. Kathleen Mansfield, as we are able to see on our screen, the original name of Kathleen Mansfield is Kathleen Mansfield Beauchamp. The original name is Kathleen Mansfield Beauchamp, and she assumes pen name as Katherine Mansfield. And the lifespan of Kathleen Mansfield is from 1888 to 1923. She was born in Wellington, New Zealand. She was from New Zealand and she settled in London and formed a close association of Mr. John Middleton Murray. So, when she settled in London, she met Mr. Murray, means John Middleton, and later whom she married in 1918. In 1917, she contracted and she destroyed much of her writing or left it unfinished due to his illness, because in 1970 she contracted pleurisy and spent the rest of her short life on the uh, continent, continent fighting it. And but his stories that got published are among the finest in modern English fiction, and her short stories depend for their power less on outward event than on subtly embodied atmosphere. And she is a renowned uh, short story writer, and she succeeded in becoming the virtual founder of a distinctive New Zealand literature. Her style, which she herself once described as a special kind of prose, and possesses almost the same qualities as poetry. And because of the impersonistic technique of her stories, he came to be regarded as a follower of Chekhov. So, she is a short story writer and she has her name as own in New Zealand literature. And there are many famous works of Catherine, Mansfield, and her famous works are The Garden Party and the Other Stories, and The Dove's Nest and the Other Story. These are the two short story collections of Kathleen Mansfield, which are well known to the world literature. And here we have her story, The Doll's House. This is a very interesting story. As before we read this story, we need to know about the what is the significance of title of this story, what is the setting of this story, and what is the climax of this story. So, as we know, the title of this story is The Doll's House, and it is symbolic of the class distinction between the rich upper class and the poor, because डोल्स हाउस का जो डिस्क्रिप्शन राइटर ने हमें प्रोवाइड किया है कि कितना एक लग्जरी वो डोल्स हाउस है, तो एक तरीके से हम कह सकते हैं कि वो डोल्स हाउस जो है वो एज ए सिंबोलिज्म यहाँ पे राइटर ने यूज किया है. सो डोल्स हाउस इज अ सिंबल ऑफ class distinction, because doll's house only for the rich and upper class people. So in the title of this story we just guesses this that the doll's house means it's a symbolic of a class distinction between the rich and the poor. Second thing about this story is a setting of this story, because setting of this story is a New Zealand village in 1920s. 1920s के एक न्यूजीलैंड के गांव की ये सेटिंग है, और वो गांव भी ऐसा है जहाँ ऑलमोस्ट दूर दूर तक कोई प्राइमरी स्कूल नहीं है. एक ही सिंगल स्कूल है जिसमें सब बच्चों को पढ़ना पड़ता है, इवन दे आर रिच और दे आर पुअर. सो एक साथ जब पढ़ने जा रहे हैं तब भी वहां पर क्लास डिस्टिंक्शन बहुत ज्यादा देखने को मिलती है. एंड what is the climax of the story? And climax is Aunt Burnell's school Kezia and chases the Calvis girl off the Burnell property. Here we will discuss in our story that there are two major families. First family is the Burnell's family, the rich person of the village, and the second is Calvis family, they are the poor. एंड बर्नल फैमिली के जो बच्चे हैं उनमें सबसे छोटी जो डॉटर है केजिया, वो काइंड हार्टेड है, वो पुअर की तरफ जो है अपना एक कंपेशन रखती है, सिंपैथी रखती है. ये एक तरह से सिर्फ एक्सेप्शन ही है कि एक रिच क्लास में भी जो यंगेस्ट डॉटर है वो पुअर और डाउन ट्रोडन के प्रति सिंपैथेटिक है, बट उसकी माँ द्वारा उसको डांटा जाता है कि तुम क्यों इन लोगों से बात कर रही हो. सो जो स्टोरी का लास्ट है, एंड है, वो वहां क्लाइमेक्स है और एक बिग आयरनी वहां हमें देखने को मिलती है. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट आवर स्टोरी, एंड दिस इज द सेटिंग ऑफ दिस स्टोरी. इस स्टोरी में जो है एक तरीके से डोल्स हाउस सिंबॉलिक रूप में यूज किया गया है, मीन्स सिंबल ऑफ द स्नॉबिश कम्युनिटी. एंड सेटिंग ऑफ दिस स्टोरी इज a small New Zealand village, early 20th century, and community ruled by the class distinction. Only one primary school, all have to attend, and school was also the center of class distinction at that time. At the early 20th century in New Zealand, एक स्मॉल विलेज की ये कहानी है जहाँ पे अमीर और गरीब सब बच्चों को एक ही स्कूल में पढ़ने जाना पड़ता है, बिकॉज देर वाज ओनली अ सिंगल प्राइमरी स्कूल टू all have to attend in the same school. Either the children of upper class family, either the children of poor class family. But in such situation, in this school, also the class distinction may be seen all over in this primary school. जैसा कि इस स्टोरी में हमें आगे देखेंगे कि किस तरीके से क्लास डिस्टिंक्शंस वहां पर होता है। इवन सब बच्चों को एक साथ उसी प्राइमरी स्कूल में पढ़ना है, लेकिन फिर भी they are suffered from lot of and much class distinction. And what may be the themes of this story? And we can say that the themes of this story as like pride and prejudice. Pride and prejudice means the vanity of the upper class people, vanity of the upper class children as well. क्योंकि जैसा अपर क्लास के बड़े लोग बिहेव करेंगे, वैसा ही बच्चे भी सीख जाते हैं। सो जो प्राइड एंड प्रेजुडिस, जो वेनिटी है, वो जनरेशन टू जनरेशन रिच क्लास में चलती आती है। एंड नेक्स्ट थीम मे बी द क्रुअल्टी ऑफ द क्लास डिस्टिंक्शन, कि किस तरीके से बेड ट्रीटेड किया जाता है पुअर पीपल को अपर क्लास पीपल के द्वारा, चाहे वो बड़े लोग हों चाहे वो चिल्ड्रन हो। एंड सोशल इक्वालिटी एंड इनजस्टिस, all over in this story we can see the social inequality and injustice in this story, the doll's house. And here we can also see the imagery and symbolism. As previous we have discussed that the doll's house represents upper class society, expensive materialistic details like the luxurious chairs, wallpapers, carpets. मीन्स जो डोल्स हाउस है उसमें भी राइटर ने फाइन डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया है कि कितना लग्जरियस वो डोल्स हाउस है, कितना ब्यूटीफुली पेंटेड है, इतने लग्जरियस उसमें चेयर लगे हैं, वॉलपेपर है, कारपेट्स है, पोर्च है, किचन है, बेडरूम है। सो all the description of doll's house represents the upper class society. It symbolizes the materialistic life of luxurious life of the upper class society. And on the other hand, there is the Kelvis children also. They are very poor. So Kelvis are referred to animal terms, showing they belong to a lower caste क्लास। जैसा केलवीस को इस तरीके से वहां पर एड्रेस किया जा रहा है जैसे कि कोई एनिमल क्लास की कोई टर्म हो केलवीस, और बहुत ही लोअर क्लास टाइप उनको दिखाया गया है इस स्टोरी में कि कैसे क्लास डिस्टिंक्शन उस समय सोसाइटी में होता था। एंड एज वी सी इन होल स्टोरी, the doll's house and the lamp situated in the doll's house. The lamp of the doll's house is very much liked by Kezia of Burnens family and Lil and Els of Kelvis as well. तो जो लैम्प है वो क्या है, इट सिग्निफाइज द ट्रूथ अवेकनिंग एंड इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर केजिया एंड एल्स। केजिया अपर क्लास फैमिली जो बर्नल फैमिली है उसकी यंगेस्ट डॉटर है, और एल्स जो है वो कैलविस जो पुअर क्लास फैमिली है उसकी यंगेस्ट डॉटर है। दोनों को ही both of them like the lamp in the doll's house very much because they are soft hearted, they are kind hearted. Kezia, instead of being the girl of rich family, she has much kindness in her heart towards the poor people, towards the poor Calvish children. So here we can say that the lamp signifies the truth and awakening, and so it is important for KG and else because they shares the same values. Same values, they have in their heart the truth, the kindness for the other. So lamp signifies the truth and awakening. Next is the KJ and else are looking for friends and they are not interested in which social class they belong to. So, this is the imagery and symbolism of this story. And let's just have a look on the description of two families in this story. There are two families in this short story, The Doll's House. One is Burnell family and the second is Kelvis. And Burnell, in the Burnell family, Pat Burnell, the father of um, Burnell children, and the aunt Burnell, very intent and not allowing the Kelvis girl into their yard. She is much means we can say the she is totally affected by the vanity of our class. And next is Isabel. She is the eldest sister in Burnell family. Luty, the middle sister, and Kezia, the youngest sister, and the only character who is not prejudiced. Kezia also belongs to the Burnell family, but here she is presented as she has not any type of proud, any type of vanity, any type of prejudice in her heart. She is presented here very kind hearted. And only Kezia let the Calvis children come into her house and to see the doll's house. But Aunt Burnell scolded them so brutally. She abusing in a very bad manner. And the Burnells are rich and their daughters' clothing set them aside from the others' clothing. And the Burnell girls shun the Calvis. And in the uh, Calvis family, Lil and Els are the two daughters in Calvis family. And Isabel, the eldest daughter of the Burnell family, wants to tell their friends about the doll's house first. Means Isabel decided that she is the eldest daughter and only she is to tell about the doll's house in this school. So there are two families in this story. एक तरफ तो बर्नल फैमिली है जो रिच क्लास फैमिली है और रिच क्लास की वैनिटी एक तरीके से पूरी तरह से भरी हुई है इजाबेल में भी और उसकी माँ में भी लेकिन उसी फैमिली की सबसे छोटी डॉटर है केजिया जो किसी भी तरीके से किसी वैनिटी से प्रभावित नहीं है और काइंड हार्टेड है दूसरी तरफ केल्विस फैमिली है जिसकी दो डॉटर हैं लिल एंड एल्स लिल बड़ी डॉटर है और एल्स छोटी है और उनको हमेशा ही बेडली ट्रीटेड किया जाता है not only in society but even in school also. So these are the two families in this short story and let's have a look on the outline of this story. And this is a short story about children. This is a short story about the children. In this story, the writer totally depicts the child psychology and she selects the common day experiences in this story and she describes the doll's house in beautiful manner and after that she depicts the children of two family. One is Burnell family and second is the poor Calvis family and the whole story revolves around both these families. The whole story revolves around the both these families. Not around the families, even the only a whole story revolves around the children of both these families. Children of Burnell family and children of Kelvis family. Because Kathleen Mansfield uh, depict the child psychology a very effective manner in this story. So let's start our today's story. How Doll's House arrived in the Burnell's family and how it became the subject of sensation in school and in society as well. So in this story, first, Mrs. Hay, an old lady, Mrs. Hay, जो कि डोल्स हाउस भेजती है बर्नल फैमिली के बच्चों के लिए, क्योंकि जो मिसेस है वो कुछ दिन वहां रुकी थी और उनकी इतने अच्छे से वहां देखभाल हुई और उसके बदले मिसेस है ने बर्नल चिल्ड्रन के लिए डोल्स हाउस भेजा और वो कितना बड़ा था कि 2 लोग उठा करके उसको पोर्च तक लेके गए और कितना सुंदर डिस्क्रिप्शन डोल्स हाउस का यहाँ राइटर ने प्रेजेंट किया है और फिर आगे राइटर बताएंगे कि किस प्रकार से जो डोल्स हाउस है वो पूरे स्कूल में एक सेंसेशन सा बन गया, सब्जेक्ट ऑफ सेंसेशन बन गया और बर्नल फैमिली की जो एल्डेस्ट डॉटर है इजाबेल, वो कैसे प्राउड फील करती है, अपना वेनिटी दिखाती है कि नहीं हमारे घर डोल्स हाउस है और वन बाय वन सब देखने आएंगे, लेकिन सिर्फ रिच फैमिली वाले ही बच्चे आ सकते हैं, पुअर फैमिली के बच्चों को अलाउ नहीं किया जाएगा डोल्स हाउस देखने के लिए। तो इस तरीके से स्टोरी और कैसे फिर एट लास्ट केजिया उन पुअर केल्विश चिल्ड्रन को अलाउ करती है और अपने घर आने देती है, डोल्स हाउस देखने देती है और कैसे आखिरी में जो आंट बर्नल है उनको इतना बुरी तरीके से डांट करके भगा देती है और उसके बावजूद भी वो दोनों केल्विश चिल्ड्रन जो है खुश हैं, उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि उन्हें किस तरीके से अब्यूज किया गया, किस तरीके से डांटा गया, वो भाग जाती है खूब दूर जा करके एक नाले के पाइप के ऊपर बैठती है और वहां पे थोड़ा तसल्ली से सांस लेती है और फिर वो इतना खुश होके बोलती हैं कि हमने डोल्स हाउस देख ही लिया और एल्स जो है वो ऐसे हल्के से उसको बोलती है कि देखो लैंप कितना सुंदर था। सो दिस इज द चाइल्ड साइकोलॉजी है डिपिक्टेड बाय द राइटर बाय कैथरीन मैन्सफील्ड इन दिस स्टोरी। सो let's start our today's story, dear student. And the outline of this story, as we have discussed, that the Doll's House by Katherine Mansfield is a short story about children. And the writer, Katherine Mansfield, is expert in child psychology. And she reflects the common experiences of life. And in this story, she tells about the child's psychology in a beautiful manner. And the story is a profound revelation of children's mind and heart, and she describes Doll's house in beautiful manner in this story. So this is the outline of this story, and as we have discussed that the characters of this story, and there is a Burnell family. Eldest Burnell daughter Isabel was not kind hearted and the name's eldest daughter sorry the eldest daughter, Isabel, was not kind hearted. She was suffering from the vanity of the upper class, but the youngest daughter of the Burnell family, Kezia, was very kind hearted. And there was and the other poor family also, namely Kelvy's family. And the names of the poor children from the Kelvys are Lil and Els. And so the whole story revolves around the children of these both families and the arrival of the Doll's house in Burnell family. Arrival of the Doll's house and becomes a topic of depiction for the Burnell children. And the Doll's house sent by Mrs. Hare for the Burnell children from the town. And the Doll's house was a big and it was kept into the courtyard and it was kept beside the feed room door, and the doll's house was dark, oily, spinach green, and bright yellow color. It had solid little two chimneys of red and white color, and these chimneys was attached with roof, and its door was looked like a rectangular toffee and it was painted yellow. The doll's house had four windows painted with the green color, and there was tiny porch painted yellow, and there was also a big lamp hanging in the doll's house, and the strong smell of varnish was coming out from the doll's house. And but the doll's house was so beautiful and so cared the smell of varnish, and it was really a very lovely doll's house. And this is the fine description of doll's house given by Kathleen Mansfield here. And when the doll's house was opened, there were drawing room, a dining room, a kitchen, and two bedroom also. And the kitchen had beautiful red chairs, and the bedroom had beds with the real bedclothes. And there were father and mother doll in the drawing room, and the two little children were asleep in the bedroom as well. Thus, it was the quite a large house for dolls with everything. And next, the doll's house became a sensation in the school. How it became the sensation in the school? The Burnell's children went to the school, and there was always talking about the doll's house. Children come to see the doll's house in numbers, and Burnell family's eldest daughter Isabel was too much proud. So it is decided that the two children could come to visit and the doll's house in one time. And there were the another poor children, namely Calvis, two daughters, Lil and Els. And these Calvis children not led to Burnell house to see the doll's house, but the youngest daughter of Burnell family, Kezia, was kind-hearted towards the Calvis children. So the eldest Burnell daughter, Isabel, told proudly about the doll's house in the school, and Calvis always remained quiet. No one gave importance to the Calvis in this school, but went to see the doll's house. But they want to see the doll's house, and so they went to Burnell's house instead of the forbidden by Isabel. And father of Lil and Els, Mr. Calvi, was the Goldberg. वो उसके जो फादर हैं कैलविस के वो तो हमेशा जेल में ही रहते थे तो गोलबर्ड हैं एंड देयर मदर मिसेस केल्वी वाज अ हार्ड हार्ड वर्किंग एंड अ वाशर वुमन वो वाशर वुमन थी एंड देयर टू डॉटर्स लिल एंड एल्स dressed the old clothes given by the people for whom their mother worked, and Lil was healthy child but the else was very thin and she looked like a white owl, and she always went behind her elder sister Lil, holding her skirt. And in Bonnell's family, the youngest daughter Kezia was innocent, and she called Calvi's sister to see the doll's house. And Kezia opened the doll's house, and they watched it with the great excitement and great curiosity. And Kezia showed them the inside the rooms of the doll's house. And at that time, Aunt Burnell came there, and she scolded Kezia for calling the Calvish children. And she said that they never be let to come the Burnell house. And Calvi's daughters Lil and Els ran away from the Burnell house, and they sat on the big red uh, drain pipe for resting by the side of the road. And they had already forgotten the Aunt Burnell's scolding. And Els said to her sister Lil softly that she had seen the little lamp in the doll's house. So this is the story, and we see how the underprivileged Calvinist children were so used to humiliation and distinction, but they did not mind their being ill-treated, and they had forgotten all scolding by the Aunt Burnell, and they only remembered a pleasant peep of the doll's house. Kezia was innocent because she was away from the consciousness of status of the upper class. So she was symbolic to the poor. She was sympathetic to the poor Calvi children, Lil and else. But Isabel and her friend are marked with the snobbery of the upper class. They suffer from the vanity of the upper class, And here lies the great irony, dear student. And what is the irony of this story? And the irony is the climax of this story. Like, this is the great irony of the poor creature, that God has created us all without any discrimination. But in this world, there are so many poor children, men and women, and these are still underprivileged. And the underprivileged Kelvich sisters used to had so much humiliation, but they did not mind it. And thus, in this story, the writer Katherine Mansfield depicts the picture of our society, and she actually portrayed the child psychology here. So, this is our today's story, and this is the big irony of this story. How the underprivileged children um, are totally humiliated by the upper class people, but they did not mind it because they are habitual of this scolding, of this abusing. तो ये जो क्लास डिस्टिंक्शन और वेनिटी ऑफ अपर क्लास यहाँ पे राइटर ने डेपिक्ट किया है, और ब्यूटीफुली उन्होंने यहाँ पे चाइल्ड साइकोलॉजी को भी पोर्ट्रेट किया है कि किस प्रकार से जो लिल और एल्स हैं, दे आर पुअर daughters of the poor family Kelvis, they did not mind about their abusing, their humiliation by Aunt Burnell. They just happy to have a glance of the doll's house. They are much happy to see the doll's house only. They did not mind the scolding, the abusing of the Aunt Bunny. So, this is the irony of this story, dear student. And Catherine Mansfield depicts the child psychology here very much. And I hope this is a very interesting story, and all of you understood very much. And I hope also all of you take delight too much to study the stories as we have discussed here one by one. And thanks to all of you being with us in this channel, Gyandu 2.0. Please subscribe this channel, and more students take delight and take the advantages of this channel. Thanks to you all.